For the scene. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name's Sugi Yamagawa, and today on VTubing My Slow Life Hobbies in My 30s, we're gonna be bottling beer. So, this beer is going. We're gonna be talking about beer. Here's the start of our show. Beer in this bucket. So, just a bit of a quick update. So sorry that I haven't really been doing anything much exciting, especially in terms of like working and stuff, but considering the fact I was fairly sick all of last week and now I'm just starting to get to 100%, should be good to tackle some woodworking projects. And I've also just had like a bit of lack of inspiration for projects, but got a couple ideas on stuff I would like to get built at some point, so we will see what next week brings. So, a little bit about me. Sorry for if it looks like a bit of a mess. This is my bottling bucket here, this one, and I accidentally had it too far up on the workbench. There's a spigot on it, and right here, and whenever it's resting straight on the workbench, it puts pressure up on it because the bottom of the spigot actually clears the bottom of the bucket, and that's kind of the reason why there's a bit of a wet mess on the workbench right now. Oh. Yeah. So I think that's kind of enough of the preamble. Also, if the BGM is too loud, please do let me know. I've been finicking with the volume and rewatching VODs and just trying to like fine tune it, but if I could ever get like some live feedback, that would be so. Here and lies the star of our show, or well, the object of our desires. Like, this is important. Like, you can kind of see. Well, actually, so this is our sanitizer solution right here, and actually, wait. Here, give me a second. This is really important because, so in brewing, there's what are called two sides of the process. There's the hot side process, and then there's the cool side of the process. So the hot side is everything up to and including boiling your wort. So that'll be mashing, that will be actually boiling your wort, sparging, all that stuff happens on the hot side. That's the side where you have that boil incoming, and that boil basically just nukes the beverage that you're making, and like there's nothing alive in it. But when you switch to the cold side of the process, where we are now, you want to use a sanitizer. Or how much I have to push thing. If I push this bucket too far, I will also push glass bottles. This is my non-contact sanitizer of choice. It has never let me down. Well, not non-contact. It's actually a rinsable one. If you have stuff like if you have like a little bit of like residue in like your bottle bucket, because eventually all our beer is going to go in here. This is basically going to like sanitize and clean the bottling bucket and make sure there's like no germs or anything. So right now, I've currently got. So here's our sanitizer. It's not a good idea to get this on your hands because it's meant to kill anything and everything that's living, and your hands are living. It's not like directly harmful, but like I've noticed a lack of texture in my fingertips after I've had my hands in them. that. I have my bottling wand. It looks bad, but it always looks like that, no matter how many times I run this through the dishwasher or anything. Like, and also like down the bottom, you can kind of sort of see it a little bit. That's going to be our hose that we're going to move our beer around. So that's bottling bucket. Amble. Hopefully that will stay there. Oh, not till the time button. So we'll take cap. Hook device. Me. And then get the little like hopper out. And so this is the airlock. This is basically the device that lets CO2, the gas produced during fermentation, out. It lets it out, but does not let it in. Hence why it's called an lock. Purpose of it is to basically clean any other microbes. And these fermenters, and these lids are like, if you snap these lids on, like, they're on. I can actually start to smell it. I can actually start to smell it. Don't want to splash sanitizer. Not good. Unideal. And does this? Whoop. There we go. Oh wow. There's actually a few hops in there. I'm gonna set the top of the fermenter there, and actually get it. Let's get a nice good look at it. The beer. Oh. Here it is. Hard beer. I can just say right here and now, like, this smells like absolute. And you can see a couple of whole hops there. Those hops are actually those were actually some of the hops I just kind of like chucked in there when I got a hold of them. To like showcase, just threw them in there to throw them in there. Oktoberfest. You can kind of notice the little ring around the top of the liquid beer part. So in today's thumbnail for the stream, it is the remnants of this. This is called, what's it called? Called the Kalsen. The German word. Probably should brush up on my German brewing terms, considering how much I like to talk about beer. But what this ring that, like, above my head, that ring is basically the remains of this process. So this is actually when this is active fermentation. This is like the first couple of days that the yeast have had time to work in beer. That's what it looks like. It's very foaming. It's very frothy. It's very active. This is also why it's called primary fermentation. Which that side of the process probably only lasts like a few days with beer. When I did my blackberry wine project, that actively fermented for nearly 2 weeks. I was just like, this thing has just been like going like nuts for like quite a while, quite a bit of time. Like, goodness gracious. But so that's what that ring is that you see around the beer. That is the remains of, is the remains of that head of yeast that formed. So, and to see a shop light there reflected in. So, first thing I'm gonna do is beer, kind of just chill over there. We're gonna kind of come to here and then this bucket. So we're gonna start by draining out the sanitizer from the bottling bucket. And I'm gonna grab a handy dandy hose. And I'm actually gonna transfer this hose to this bucket. That way it can continue to be sanitized. And I'm also gonna take my bottling wand here. And I'm just gonna hold it under there. And that will let it be topped off with sanitizer, so that way the whole bottling wand sanitized. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna give, once that stream of sanitizer stops, I'm gonna turn it off. Well, I might do it a bit before then, but I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna slosh sanitizer around the bottling bucket, and that is gonna help sanitize the bottling bucket, because we want to create a space that is devoid of pathogens and others, pathogens, microbes, other stuff that could contaminate our beer. So, to a close. Oops. Oh wow, there's more in there than I thought. Careful. So, I literally just shake it, give it a good stir. That helps clean the sides. It's gonna fill up more than just the whole thing. Yeah. I'll pour it down here for later. Ooh, actually, wait. Gotta do it. Remembered, I'm gonna do a thing. Give me a quick moment to grab a thing, and I'll be right back, because I'm gonna do a thing later, so. Okay, so I'm back. So the thing I want to do today, this is a thing I'm doing today in particular for this batch of beer. At the bottom of this batch of beer, there's going to be a layer of yeast. I am going to harvest that. So what I went to go grab was my handy dandy beaker. Went ahead and already filled it with some sanitizer. So this is going to be filled with yeast later tonight. And those yeast I'm going to reuse in another batch of Oktoberfest that I'll probably brew this weekend. I don't think I'll stream. Probably won't stream it, but it'll be a thing I do. So, we're done with this bucket for now. Oh, sending it to the side. And we've got a bucket down there. We will bring our bottling bucket back to the front. Honestly, beer, you're great. Love you here. But we're kind of talking about stuff. This. So, since the yeast have already finished off all the sugars in the beer, beer is good with a little bit of carbonation. Wouldn't you all agree? I certainly think beer is good with some carbonation. So, what I have here in this saucepan is a mixture of water. And I actually did not bring this down because the first time I bottled beer on stream, I didn't show this ingredient, but I have it with me today. That ingredient is orange sugar. Can't get the whole thing. There, okay. So, corn sugar. Why corn sugar? Well, corn sugar is very, very neutral in flavor. So basically, when you want to, so what we're doing here with this is basically creating a water sugar mixture to add in with our beer. And then when we bottle our beer, the yeast will have a bit of a sugary snack. And when they consume said sugary snack, they will turn some of that sugar, well, yeah, they'll turn some of the sugar into CO2. And that CO2 that is formed in the bottles, that is going to be our source of carbonation for the beer. So that's what this is. This is actually a really important step when you're bottling your own beer. It's really important when you bottle beer at home, by yourself. I mean, pretty sure most of you, I mean, a lot of big breweries don't actually like bottle carbonate beers, which that's what I'm doing here today is called. It's called bottle carbonation, where I'm just giving the yeast a snack, and then the yeast use that snack to produce CO2 that then carbonates the beer, because right now this beer is under no pressure other than like the atmosphere and stuff. There is CO2 in it, but not really enough to be like fizzy. Not to have that bit of like texture that you would normally expect from a beer. So what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and add this to the bottom of the bottling bucket. And then once this is added, we can transfer the beer over. So let me set that stuff over there. And I kind of want to show the beer there, but then it blocks that. No, go splitsies. Tube goes into the beer. Then see if I can. I can't do it. Not normally. And okay. Normally I've had more success. To get air in it. I think it got a little bit of air in it. Probably one. There we go. Woo. So, this part of the process called cracking the beer. And what I'm trying to do here is, so in the fermenter, the bucket closest to this, to the camera, the screen, right? I'm trying to keep the hose off the bottom, because at the bottom of this fermenter is a layer of sediment. We want to keep that sediment out of our bottles. So when you transfer, honestly, when you transfer any sort of fermented beverage, beer, wine, mead, whatever have you, you rack it. So the process of pulling the liquid off the top or the upper half of the container and then transferring it into the other container, that's called racking. And it's called racking because you're trying to rack the beer off what's at the bottom of your fermenter. Also, I really like this new hose I got like just a couple of months ago. Like, it goes so quick. You can see we've lost quite a bit of volume in the fermenter. We've gained quite a bit of volume in the bottling bucket. So, just gonna let this little bit of racking process do its thing, as you can see by the vinyl hose. I really want to keep an eye on that, because I want to make sure that's clear. If it ever starts becoming like sedimenty or like kind of like gunked up, then that means I'm drawing in like stuff off the bottom. So I'm going to be really watching this fermenter for a bit. See, wish I could read the, because I can't, because you guys can see kind of like, you can kind of see the little scale marks on the bottling bucket. And I think that top one is 5 gallons. We should end up at 5 gallons. And also my throat is a little hoarse right now. I'm going to sip some water. Beer's great, but water's honestly better. Better for you. Beer just makes life fun. You're really getting to the bottom of this fermenter. So, what I always do is I usually start tipping it. Ooh, and this is actually going to stop for you. So, you can... Oh, you can't see it just yet. I can see it from where I'm at. Is trying to start to see that layer sediment. Be real careful, because I don't have a lot of liquid to maintain my siphon. But yeah, you're just so close. You can't see it just yet. But you're gonna start to see the sediment layer soon. Just gotta keep literally just the tip of the siphon. Trying to start to see it forming, but I'm also trying to control the bottling bucket to get as much possible. And then, okay, a little too chunky, but there you go. There it is. There is our layer of sediment. That is basically the, well, basically during like active fermentation, there's lots and lots and lots of sugar. Yeast make lots and lots and lots of yeast. You eat all that sugar. Well, eventually, sugar runs out. And then yeast start dying. Then all the dead yeast settle at the bottom. Anything that would settle out of the wort, like any residual hops, any like larger debris, usually a lot of that will percolate. It's usually what's this bottom layer of sediment, and this bottom layer of sediment is what's going to go into this handy. Well, a portion of it, not all of it, but a portion of it. Smells great. I do truly enjoy that smell. So I'm going to take my the fermenter. It now no longer holds what we are here for today. And I'm going to science experimenty look thing, set it off to the side, and then this. So I kind of failed a little bit in keeping this as clear as I possibly could. Kind of see pop, but I'm not sticking my fingers. I'm not sticking anything in here that will contain. I am not doing that. So I actually set it here because I have a bucket off to my enough. Let's see. Okay, well, excuse me while I'm being terribly afflicted by thoughts right now. And fault of terribly. Ooh. I have a thought I'm going to execute on. Okay. Feel a bit better about that. Okay, so one of the things I was doing off to the side. Wow, that man, that beer is pretty much a mirror. You can see the webcam. You can see the duct. You can kind of see a little bit of the ductwork and picture of ceiling that I have. I really do wonder whose idea it was to put a textured ceiling in the garage. Not my decision. But so this bottling bucket is going to go even higher. Like the bottom of this bucket is actually going to be above the webcam. So, and the purpose for that is to create basically a difference in height. Ooh, goodness, that's heavy. Okay, so we're gonna return to table, and I'm gonna grab some bottles. So once we get a couple bottles lined up, we're gonna start filling them. This is the fun part of it. For the quote-unquote fun part, I'm actually going to be moving a few of my materials since because I did bring some stuff to like show, but I also want to make sure I have like as much room as possible to do the other things. Okay, so I'm gonna take my saucer from earlier. Come here. Bloop. And I'm just gonna have like basically a shallow E of sanitizer. And then, in a second to get this bag open, I'm gonna pour some caps in it. And of course, with it being Oktoberfest, I have to use orange bottle caps for that. You know, like you gotta use orange bottle caps. I mean, I've used white. Really, the color of the bottle cap doesn't matter, but it helps add to the, I guess, flair, if you will. But so these are my caps. They're sanitized. They're gonna be cool. My tubing free of sanitizer. I'm gonna hook one end to the bottling bucket. Can't show you because that brings the camera way too. That would bring. Can't have that. Bottling wand of sanitizer. And fill this with beer. Huh. Wrong direction. Loop. Hey. Oh, the beer has begun to flow. I should have actually went with like a higher setting for the camera. But yeah, there we go. It's gonna be a little like kind of frothy because there will be like a little bit of air in the system. But here. So in order to use your bottling wand, it has a depressor at the bottom, and you literally just stick your wand in it and press it down. And to show that here in a bit. So, that black tip there, press that down, basically has a spring on it. The spring keeps pressure on it to keep like the beer from flowing all the time, but when you press down on it, it lets beer flow. So usually what I do here during this part of the process is I always make sure I have a lineup of bottles in addition to this one, because during this first bit of the process, things move quickly. When you have a lot of beer in your bottling bucket, it moves quick. Very, very, very. You gotta be quick at this point. Which, that's the big reason why I always fill these are called bomber beer bottles, by the way. And what that means is, basically, they are 22-ounce servings. I use these not because I like to get drunk. I use them because they use fewer of these bottling caps. And it's also a little bit more like quicker and efficient to bottle. I know a lot of homebrewers usually give up on bottling at some point, because bottling is actually kind of a pain. Because if I was just kegging this beer, the whole process would literally just be me cooling the beer into, like, just basically dumping the beer from the fermenter into a keg, and I'll like carbonate it, and then I just like let it rest for a while, and then yeah, it's pretty much done. Like, as far as like packaging, your kegging is really quick, really efficient. But the thing is, I'll be honest, I have to bottle. The reason why I say I have to bottle my beer is that I know myself. And I know if I kept taps of beer at the homestead, I wouldn't be able to, like, this temptation of like just having beer on tap all the time. And I want to have a healthy relationship with this beverage, not an unhealthy. And also, all my friends right now are just losing weight like absolute champions, and yeah, I want to be with them. I don't want to be the heaviest guy in my friend group. Granted, that's never going to happen because, thank God for brother-in-laws. I will never be heavier than my brother-in-law, but he makes my sister happy, so that's fine. Ooh, yep. So, basically, when you're in this part of the process, you're literally just kind of sort of multitasking, where you're gonna kind of use like one hand to tap, maneuver your beer, while you're other hand to. But yeah. So I won't talk about that just yet. Instead, for now, we're just gonna fill bottles of. And also, that's like a thing with like craft beer and stuff. Like, man, the cap. Is the calories in it. Like, setting aside like the issues with the alcohols, there's like a crap ton of calories in that stuff. Yeah. At least want to maintain some level of figure. Ever so slightly starting to slow down. So I don't have them nearby right now, but I do have. So I will bottle some 12-ounce bottles of beer, but I always try to bottle a whole bunch of these bombers first, because the beer flow rate is just so high. And that high beer flow rate makes it, like, if you're filling like 12 ounces, like, you have to watch those like a hawk at this point in the process. Whereas like the bombers, you can kind of sort of get away with like not watching them judiciously. But the 12 ounces, and you'll notice like some of these are like this one here. This isn't a bomber. This is actually something like I bought like a European beer. It is not in imperial units. But I just call all these bombers because it simplifies things. Yep. Well, that's bottle 13. Filling 14, and then I'm going to line some of these up. And I have another box of bottles here that I really would like to get. Also, if you just want to kind of sort of take a break, you can just kind of boop. There we go. So that is another container full of delicious Oktoberfest. And to be fully ready until probably 2 to 3 weeks after today. I'm gonna go ahead and try to start get some out of the way, because eventually I'm gonna wanna actually like primarily just looking at my flow rate. I just try to get enough of these like big bottles, the bombers, filled up. I feel like I really should be the type of person who actually knows. We should know like some weird historical reason why they call bombers. Unfortunately, I'm not your guy right now. I wish I could be your guy, but I'm not your guy for that bit of trivia knowledge. Okay, cool. So I just glanced over at the bottling bucket, and we are just crossing the 2-gallon mark. So we're well over halfway through this process. Well, filling the bottles. We're light splooge there. Bottle. So I'm gonna fill these two up. This one and this one. I'll start lining up malts. My 12 ounces. Which I fill these up just to have like have some options when it comes to like the if I don't want to drink like thing I can have. Cool. Next one. Bloop. Let's see how we are at. Whoa. Okay. So whenever you lose a cap, just add a new sanitized cap. Then take that cap and return it to the sanitized pool. That way it can be re-sanitized. So this is going to be bomber number 16. Then we're going to start filling up the small. Let me see. No reason to utter that. No one here is going to get that reference. Okay. I'm actually going to just kind of... Yeah, I'm just titling room. Which I might show you guys here in a little bit about how much room I've got to work with, you know? Yay. Screen cap for the social medias. Also, screen caps from stream make for great fun. Well, it can be a decent. That'd be fun. I mean, it makes for less work. I always do like making my easier in whatever ways I can, because fortunately I also do like making my life hard in certain ways. Mostly that's primarily in the form of being, how do I say this, like a serial skill picker-upper? Like, that's kind of one of my things. Is I just the type of person who likes picking up skill time. Because of that, I'm always putting a lot on myself or on my plate. Because of that, Grant, I feel like I've got a pretty alright balance right now. Like between like doing stuff here and like taking care of stuff in IRL, granted. Don't ask me how weed-free my garden is, cause it's not. It really isn't. But also, like, really the main things I've got growing in it right now are sunflower. I've got sunflowers. I've got tomatoes, peppers, technically cabbage, and leeks. And I say technically cabbage. Well, you, because that cabbage is going to get harvested here soon. Because on Sunday, for those of you who may have seen my schedule, I'm going to be making kimchi. Guess who's never made kimchi? This guy. So that's going to be a fun... Hey, I've never done a thing. Hey, let's do a thing. And also, I think kimchi is probably going to be like the new recipe I learned. Need to hydrate. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I am pretty much mostly over my sicknesses. I just do have like a little bit of sore throat, but actually, when was it? Sunday? Sunday, yeah, Sunday. Sunday, I woke up and could breathe through both nostrils, like the first time in like a... I was just like, ah, yes, this is progress. Progress on... Too much. Granted, I'm not spilling as much as I did last time I bottled beer on stream. That was a little not fun. And I'm really wrong here. Oh, give me a quick second. I have to shuffle beer bottles. Palmers will live here. Okay. This. I'm gonna do a quick look behind my shoulder. Where I'm at with the bottling bucket. Oh wow. Cool. So we're below a gallon now. Hell yeah. So this process will get slower, which is really good for when doing the 12 ouncer. Like, if you're someone who does a mix of large bottles and small bottles, always knock out like a good chunk of your large bottles before you start filling your small. Man, there's so many times I spill more beer bottling my small bottles, even though they only make up like a third of the bottles I bottle. Ooh, okay. Oh. I heard some gurgling. That means my beer... I have to... Basically, what's going on right now... Yep, see that? That was air getting into my bottling line. I don't want air in my bottling line, because when you have air in your bottling line, the beer doesn't flow as well. So what I have to do now is I have to tip the bottling bucket up. Basically. Yeah, this is also the point where I really just start, like... This is the point where it gets more tricky, because both hands have to do the same thing. So I have to have one hand on one side of the world and another hand on the other side. Okay. So I'm pretty sure this bottle next are going to be my last two. Judging by the amount of beer I've got left. But we'll see. And this is also the point where sometimes you'll get a bit of a slowdown. Sometimes at this point, you'll have a bit of debris accumulate in your bottling wand, and that will really slow you down. That's why it's really important to, like, I was kind of hoping I had like one of the smaller, like, European stuff. European or Asian. Do buy import beer from both. I do buy import beer from both continents. variety is the spice of life. So, my goal for right now is to hopefully fill this last bottle. And I'm actually holding my bottling bucket over my head right now to accomplish that. Get a good beer flow. It is definitely not wanting to flow right now. Struggle. Granted, the beer is also looking very sedimenty. But I'm at least halfway through this bottle. And basically what you have to do is you just have to like do what I'm doing. Raise your bottling wand, drop your bottling wand. That usually helps keep things flowing. Granted, this is genuinely not fun. So what do I want to... I know the answer. I know the easy answer. So here's the easy answer, chat. So this bottle is... Okay. So this bottle is pretty much mostly the better way through. Bottling wand and show you a little bit of a trick. Well, I can't show you the trick. Show you the results of my trick. So, here's the results of my trick. I let the air in, drop the liquid level. That way I can remove my bottling wand. Whoop. Not like that. And then I'm gonna disconnect my hose. I'm gonna try to. Granted, I can actually just... I don't have to disconnect it. I just have to raise it to the level where it is above. And all that into the beer. Wait, how far did that get me? Got me a little bit of the way. Which, honestly, for now... Damn, I wish I could show this right now. Fortunately, right now, I'm kind of doing shenanigans. Last bottle fill. By slowly filling my oats, and then basically just using gravity to like looks most of the way there. Almost done. It's almost done, but I'm... What's that called? Being a perfectionist? Being someone who wants, like, the best result. Yeah, I'm unfortunately one of those. Do what I can to... Possible? There's a reason for it. Here we go. Done! Well. Done. There we go. Cool. Cool. I'm gonna set that over there. And give me a quick second. I have a glass. And I have a smidgen of beer. Yeah. Let me get my... Now I can just... Oh! Okay. So, I now got my hose all disconnected. Back into the world of sanitizer. I have a little bit of beer here on hose. I'm going to go ahead and dump the remainder from the bottling bucket. Go. So, there, that's it in a very particular spot. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of debris in there. But the debris is in here, not in all these bottles. That's his good thing, very good thing. So this is and also like this portion of yeah, this is definitely not enough to fill up any bottle. This is basically the Homebrewer's Advanced Test. Okay. Pretty good. Bit more bitterness than what I usually like, but as the beer sits in these bottles, that will actually fade out a little bit. So drinking, well, I mean, beer isn't traditionally consumed at the level where we're at here today. This is beer straight out of the fermenter. It's packed. This is freshly packaged beer. A lot of people will describe this taste as being green. Basically kind of like an unripe fruit sort of like taste or feel to it. Kind of clear off of things from my workbench. Because, yeah, I just need like a little bit of room. But yeah. Yep. A little bit green. But that's no big deal. There's a good slight malt character to it. Not a whole lot, just slight. But yeah, this definitely will be some good Oktoberfest. In time. Not today though. But that is also another thing if you ever get like into fermenting or like making like stuff like this at home. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is patience, because I think I had all this ferment for at least 3 weeks. Actually, I don't know. Give me a second. I'm gonna go check the channel, and I am going to see when the last time when I made this. Yeah, I made it like 3 weeks ago. Wait, okay. Oh yeah, I made this like 3 weeks ago. So fermented for 3 weeks, and it's honestly gonna bottle condition for probably about 2 weeks minimum. Personally, I find 3 weeks is best. 3 weeks is usually when the flavor is like that's your beer. Like the beer at that point, that's the flavor you're gonna get. Right now, this isn't really the full package. It's not bottle conditioned. It hasn't been like sitting for as. It needs to sit for a bit. It needs to rest for a little bit. Now, so some of you at home may be wondering, shouldn't those caps be crimped? And yes, they will be. It will be. Just not yet. So, grab an empty beer bottle and talk about what I'm doing. So, when I added that priming sugar with this beer, the yeast are like, oh hell yeah, fresh batch of sugar, let's go. And they're gonna just like go to town on it. In so doing, they're gonna generate carbon dioxide. Thinking, Sugi, if you don't crimp the caps, the carbon dioxide's gonna escape. No! Well, as long as I don't like tip the bottle over, like, if I'm just moving, like, I'm taking this and I'm just moving it smoothly on the workbench, it's fine. The carbon dioxide is actually not going to escape because CO2 is heavier than air. So, all these beer bottles, all of them, have air in them. That's one of the reasons why beer bottles narrowed down to a neck like this is because, one, you don't want to get like washed with it makes for a smaller, easier way to like cap them. That's one reason. The other, and kind of what might honestly be the more important reason, is you want to fill your beverage. Here, you're in the way of me explaining things. You want your beverage to be somewhere in this. You want the fill level to be somewhere in this column. And if I look at my beer bottles, that my fill level's generally right around here, maybe a little bit higher. The reason for that is, at this point in the process, oxygen is bad for beer. If oxygen gets into the beer, it will react, and it's very reactive. It is the reason why we need to breathe it. But we don't want oxygen getting into our beer. That's bad. It's not a good thing. So, in order to keep the oxygen out, one of the things you do is you have a very narrow surface area between your oxygen, where your oxygen is, where the air in the oxygen in the air can interact with the beer, creating a very small surface area. That's one part. The other part is to just wait a little bit after you've packaged your beer. That's what one of the things I'm trying to accomplish right now by just yapping while I let the beer rest in the bottles. I'm wanting the yeast to produce that CO2, and basically, since CO2 is heavier than air, because most of the air we breathe is made of diatomic nitrogen and oxygen, basically two molecules. Well, single element, but there's two atoms linked together. That thing. Carbon dioxide has three atoms, two carbon atoms and one oxygen atom. And thanks to that, it is heavier than the nitrogen and oxygen in the air, and is gonna sink. And because it sinks, if you basically let your bottles rest like this, let your yeast produce some CO2, that will create a layer of CO2 in the bottle between the air in the bottle and the beer. And that basically creates like a little like seal that helps keep oxygen from interacting with the beer, as long as the bottle's not like moving around, which generally speaking isn't happening when it's sitting for like 2 to 3 weeks or even months as you wait to enjoy your product you made. So that's kind of the reason why I'm just like yapping right now while I'm letting these bottles do their thing, and I know that they are doing their thing. So my mic isn't sensitive enough to pick up on it. But as I've been sitting here, I've been hearing an ever so slight noise of these caps lifting up and dropping back down. And that is the force of the CO2 being generated by the yeast pushing the air out. You can actually hear it. I mean, I can't show it to you guys because it's literally that faint of a sound, but me being here in front of all these beer bottles, I am hearing it out of the bottles occasionally. It's not like an really active sound. You'll just hear like a cap tink at some point. Let me just grab a bottle cap. You'll just hear like, not even like that pronounced, it's just like you'll hear the slight movement of like the cap on the bottle as like air's getting pushed out in favor of that sweet CO2. So that's also in that. So generally I'm not talking to an audience when I'm doing this. So what I would usually do at home is I would just work on cleaning things. I would work on cleaning my fermenter, empty beer bottles that didn't get filled this bottling session, which I always prepare extras because these bottles I basically run through the dishwasher for 2 to 3 hours to sanitize them. That's how I make sure I know I can put beer in here and it will be fine. So I always sanitize more bottles than I know I will need, which I actually want to take a tally here because I've got a dozen of the 12 ounces and a 4x4 grid. So I have 19 bombers and then a dozen small of, so I've got 19 basically 22 ounces. There's some like not 22 ounces, but then looking from here, I see just 3 of those. So that's not a big deal. Time for a sip of beer. But yeah, you just kind of want to like take a break a little bit, let the beer rest in the bottles before you crimp them, and that way you can get a bit of a buffer, get a nice good CO2 buffer, and then that will keep the air from coming in contact with the beer. Such concludes Sugi Yamagawa's things he does to preserve the quality of his homebrew. But I'm gonna shuffle some stuff around. I think it's about time we start crimping some bottles. Yeah, you just really need to like wait, like, I mean, usually I'll just try to aim for like 10-15 minutes. And also another thing I do is I'm very intentional about the order. The order I fill doesn't. Order I crimp matters. Which I always crimp from first. I go down the row. It's always why, like when I was filling the beer bottles, I would always put the first bottle I filled in the front of the row, and then I stacked. Then the next beer would go behind it. Well, here, let me show you. Sort of. Not super great. Kind of hard to. Actually, can I pull? Nope. Maybe. Let's see. Workbench should have a bit of movement, but yeah, that's kind of like the rolling of the setup of the process. I'm very intentional about that part. Goodness gracious. Throat's still not at 100%. But this way, when I grab this bottle, I know this is the first bottle I brewed. Bottle I brewed. No. First bottle I filled. So, with the crimper, there just apply even pressure on both sides. And there you go. That is a fully packaged product. And then that gets set off to the side because, so the good news is, once the beer is crimped, it really doesn't matter the order. I mean, granted, I just keep track of the order in which I fill, and then I crimp in that order, just because, so, like, I start this now, like, well, okay, so let's talk time. So let's say I've yapped for 10-15 minutes after filling the last bottle. Well, say it took 10 minutes to fill everything. So these first couple of bottles I have, they've been sitting around for better part of a half hour. So they've been sitting and they've done their thing, and they're now going to get crimped. And when you crimp it, you create a seal, protect your beer, and you let the carbonation build up. And you don't have to worry about if your bottle falls over, you lose your beer. And also the crimp allows the bottle to become pressurized, so that way CO2 will dissolve into the beer, and that makes your beer bubbly. Which is honestly, like, really my biggest motivation for, like, drinking sodas, because, I mean, really, that's the best thing about soda. It's bubbly. And I used to be pretty good about not drinking soda a whole lot, but unfortunately my workplace has a fridge full of soda and Gatorades and various other beverages. Not the stuff, but various stuff. And it has been tempting, and I have been taking advantage of it. Much to the... well, I wouldn't say much to the detriment of my health, but... soda is a lot like alcohol, in which case the best answer on the amount to drink is as little as possible. However, though, I am a huge fan of living a little. Or at least like having things in life like you enjoy. Which for me is beer. I enjoy beer. I don't wish to be controlled by the beer, because unfortunately I've had both parental figures in my life be unnecessarily influenced by the alcohol, so yeah. I definitely realize like oh, okay. Some of these bottles are a little weird. Actually, do I have any of those bottles over here? Sapporo, like Sapporo, the Japanese like lager that's of Japan's big three, is the best of the big three. For some reason, their bottles, when I go to crimp them, they crimp really weird. Like the way the crimper falls across the bottle, like this whole part of like squeezing down, it always feels like it kind of gets slightly hung up. Haven't been able to figure exactly why. I don't know if they actually have like, I don't even know. I mean, there probably is a way to make a crimp resistant bottle, and I'm not sure how that would like actually look or how that would actually work or anything. Yay, we've started the small bottles. Means the vast majority of our beer has been packaged. I've also been drifting away from my mic. Whew, okay. But this has been a fun like little stream. Once again, I'm sorry about everything. Honestly, after going through this recent bout of sickness, it's like, yeah, I don't want to be super ambitious with my streams, but I do have plans. I do have many fun plans. Should I talk about that? I mean, hey, what? Hey, if anyone's watching right now, hey, I can talk a bit. I can talk about the future a little bit right now. So one of my plans, well, this has been a plan for a while, has been making the EPA woodshed. I want to make that. And even better, that would be some great content. And I think I figured out, so my first thing in like tackling that build was figuring out how I was going to build it, because originally I was thinking I was going to have to build it outside in the spot it's going to go, and then I realized something. I'm a guy who can put stuff together and then take it apart. So I realized I can build the EPA woodshed in the shop, like the shop right here, like it will be built like here. Like I could build it in the garage, and then I can like take it apart enough to the point where I can move it around and get it into its final position. So that's a thing that's gonna happen. I think, when was that? Like, I think just yesterday, I did a little bit of material pricing, because the EPA woodshed The EPA is recommending, well, they recommend using treated pine because it's available and it's cheap. I think pricing out the lumber portion, most of the lumber portion, with the exception of the plywood for it, I think that was $170. I think. Granted, I'm just pulling a number off the top of my head that I wrote down yesterday. But it was 170 if I used treated pine for the build. But I'm a guy with taste in my lumber. I can do better than treated pine. So I priced out if I went to like a local sawmill and got Eastern Red Cedar, which Eastern Red Cedar, Juniperus virginianae. I can't say that 10 times quick right now. That was going to cost $250, so it was like an $80 price premium. And I feel like with just that much of a premium, because that's literally like a bare, actually just under a 50% premium, material cost wise, I think I'm going to do it. The problem is it's going to be a little bit logistically difficult because I have to drive to a lumber mill that's almost an hour's drive from my home. And I have to do so with a truck. Actually, I'm probably going to have to like go there. I'm going to have to rent a truck, go there, get the wood and bring it back and then take the truck back. So it's going to be like a whole thing just getting the materials. But I think I'm also going to buy like extra materials while I'm there because there's a lot of projects around the homestead that Eastern Red Cedar would just be like a great material for. Like, it is a wonderful rot-resistant wood. It is also incredibly gorgeous. Like, it has like really nice like reds and like red, pink, purple colors to it. And it's going to look like that for probably only about 6 months. Once it's like built in, like, because the sun and like the oxygen and stuff is going to like degrade the colors. But when it's first like built constructed, it is going to be absolutely stunning. It's going to be great. I'm genuinely really excited about that build, and also just getting my hands on like that much Eastern Red Cedar because, man, that's going to be exciting. So, beer is finished being bottled. I have one more thing. Let me grab my little like. Here's the science experiment. The science experiment. So it's now sanitized, all that fun good stuff. It's clear. And just. Woo! Okay. That's enough of a mess on my hands. But there we go. Not sure. Normally I'd be pretty eager to wash that into, what do I call it? Sanitizer bucket. But since I'm actually gonna be reusing that here soon, pretty recently, I want to kind of keep it on the clean side. But let me go grab a piece. Cool. So, and we'll create a nice seal because I don't want any other germs in here. Yeah, that is repackaged yeast, and you can keep this in the You can actually keep it in the fridge for like a couple of days. Actually, I'm here. I'm here, you're here. I'm gonna open this up just a bit. So, what I'm gonna do is, so in order to keep this yeast in its best condition, you gotta feed it some sugar. So I'm literally just gonna take my corn sugar. I'm just gonna get actually, I'm literally just gonna take that little chunk out. I'm gonna drop that little chunk of sugar in there, and then give it some swirly swirls. Swirly swirls! That sugar fully dissolved in there. And honestly, that little chunk of sugar is probably going to be enough to keep this yeast happy. Well, it'll give them something to live for a little bit while they eagerly await their next meal, which will be another batch of Oktoberfest. Once again, I'm not sure if I'm going to stream that or not. Probably leaning towards no, simply because of the fact, hey, I did this batch. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me yap about Oktoberfest, considering the fact that really probably all that's going to happen is me rehashing main points from that stream. There are other things I'm genuinely interested in brewing. For example, I've never made what's called a Roggenbreyer beer. It uses a lot of rye malt, and there's actually a protein rest process during your mash that you will do in order to avoid having a stuck sparge, which is like kind of like a extra step thing that you gotta do when you're working with those types of malts. So I think that'll be kind of like a nice, interesting thing. Moving forward with a lot of the brewing streams, that's basically the goal I want to go for. It's like anytime I do another beer brewing stream, is I want to like talk about something different. I'm always a fan of like tried and true processes, but also kind of want to introduce something new the next time I do a brewing stream. Like, Hell's Bells, the main reason this stream happened in the way it did is because the first brewing stream, I ran out of propane and had to end stream and go to the conveni and get some propane. Which was deeply embarrassing, and actually one of my goals for this weekend is to, well, yeah, actually this would be a great weekend for it. Go to the local hardware store and actually I've got 2 empty propane cylinders right now that I can make not empty. So I'll probably, that might be one of my chores this weekend. I've had a lot of small chores kind of like get backed up on me, simply due to the fact I really didn't get a lot done in the past like week or so. Because, as I'm sure, because I have been a little soft-spoken in this stream because of like my throat and stuff. So, yeah, it's been a little bit rough, but I still want to like be as that, because I really like doing like 2 streams a week. As far as like being like an active VTuber, but also not being like so active to the point where it just eats into my life too much. So I'm genuinely sorry for those who are interested in what I do and want to see more from me. Sorry, but Sugi Yamagawa is always going to take care of #1 before anyone else. So yeah, sorry about that. Speaking of such, I'm going to have another sip of beer. Actually, I might. So I'm going to try and sip this beer, because a lot of that particulate matter that I showed you guys earlier has settled out, and I want to kind of like siphon off as much as the top beer layer and show you how well a lot of these solids will settle out if you give them the chance to do so. But yeah, there you go. See, that's all hop residue, mostly. I mean, that's pretty much what it looks like to me. All hop residue. But yeah, that's all the remaining residue, and the, well, drank the beer, but the beer on top was pretty clear. Was. So, let's see here. I'm trying to think if I got any more things. Ooh, yeah. So, on the topic of future stuff, future content, I got 3 of these bad boys in yesterday. Did post a tweet about that. But, so, what these do for me. So, currently right now, my streaming setup, my keyboard, mouse, mic, all that fun stuff is roughly in the center of my garage. Yeah, roughly in the center of the garage. There's some stuff I've been wanting to do, but in order to do it, I have to go to the edge of the garage. Specifically, the edge of the garage that's outside. With these cables, I actually have enough... I'll have enough reach with my peripherals, all the extra stuff I got going on. I'll be able to set... I'm hoping it's not going to be too difficult. I'm not sure how optimistic I am in that. But I am hoping to be able, hopefully without too much effort, to shift my whole streaming setup literally like 10 feet over without moving the computer, because the computer is literally in the separate room. I mean, I could bring it in, but I feel like that's just adding more work to the work that already needs to be done, which is why I bought these cables. Which leads me to all say is I have a fire pit. I enjoy cooking. I enjoyed the absolute living hell out of a certain anime show from not last season, but last year, called Campfire Cooking in Another World. I haven't done enough research on the recipes in that show to actually like do recipes from the show on like stream, but I do want to eventually do that. And I actually want to do some campfire streams. Both, I also, like, one part of it is I want to talk about, like, how to make a campfire. Also, like, another, like, popular anime that a lot of people like, well, which truly enjoys, is Eurocamp. Like, I would love to make some recipes from that show, which I really want to research. Need to look into, like, actually, like, writing down, like, the recipes they used for the, like, tomato episode from the most recent season, because I've been juicing a lot of my overstock of tomatoes, and I'm pretty much done with juicing for 2 reasons. One, I have plenty for the salsa project I have going on, and then the second reason is I'm running out of freezer space. Right now, I have like 80 cups of juiced tomatoes across 2 freezers right now. And also my freezers are still kind of full from blackberry season, which, my gosh, I can't believe blackberry season was good this year. Like, I'm going to be eating homegrown blackberries probably until December. Probably. Don't know for sure or not, but probably. I'm sure at least late October, November. But we'll see how that plays out. So yeah. Hopefully, some campfire streams will be a thing in the pipeline at some point. I don't know if it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I honestly don't know. So that's a thing to look forward to. As for like woodworking stuff, as I said earlier, I haven't been like particularly inspired to make anything, but granted, since I have been kind of like taking it really easy with both myself and my like IRL schedule, hopefully I will actually sit down and do some research later this week and find some projects I want to do. One project I do want to do is I do want to make a rolling table for my table saw. So right now, one of the weaknesses of my table saw setup is I don't have a lot of outfeed support. And if you've watched some of my previous streams where I use the table saw, you'll notice I'll feed material through and then it just goes into the abyss of nowhere behind the table saw onto the floor. I want to build a proper rolling stand for it because one thing is it comes with a rolling cart thing because it's a contractor table saw. It's meant to be like portable, something you could roll around and take to like different job sites. It's not really meant to be a stationary table saw in a shop. Granted, it would be really easy to just like remount it to like whatever I make. But yeah, that's one thing I want to do is I want the table saw to actually be a table is what I want. So that's going to be a build at some point. But I just have to like sit down, do some research, maybe find some plans and be like, okay, cool. Here's the thing. Let's make it. Because I am sitting on I have a decent amount of scrap 3/4 plywood, and I also have a full sheet of 3/4 plywood, and I also have basically a full sheet of 1/2-inch plywood. So I should have enough materials on hand. I have also already ordered the casters for it. So I ordered a whole bunch of casters off Amazon, but the package I bought was only 2-inch casters, which I use for the miter saw station. They work on the miter saw station. Any other large project like that is not getting 2-inch casters ever again. The 2-inch casters are fine. They're literally just fine. I just want a larger caster with a larger wheel. This is going to be a lot more maneuverable, which is really important with the table saw build because it's literally probably going to live in the middle of my shop once it's done. And I'm going to be constantly moving it around, like depending on various projects I have going on, depending if I'm just like putzing around in the shop. I'll probably be using my table saw as a table to hold things more than I should. But I mean, literally, like for today's stream, to support my bottling bucket at a height higher than this workbench, I literally had the bottling bucket on top of a 5-gallon bucket on top of the table saw because it's stable, it's strong, because 5 gallons of liquid is very heavy. So, I feel like that's a decent bit of preamble, a little bit of like what's been going on, talking a little bit about some stuff I have going on, looking forward towards the future of what I want to do here. I do want to get to a point where I can actually like learn just enough about video editing to the point where I can make clips, but man, does video editing software terrify me so in terms of like its perceived complexities and whatnot. But as the reason why I'm here, and this is the big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to build out my skill set. Also, in some ways with that is also just yapping constantly. Like I know I'm not the best at it, but looking back on like introvert me and seeing the fact that I can actually like talk somewhat continuously for 2, maybe even 3 hours is like, yeah, that's progress. So that's just a little bit where I'm at right now, a little bit looking towards the future of what I plan to do here. Thank you all very much for your patience. I am not the best at this. I don't intend to be the best at this, but I do eventually want to look back at what I've done here and been like, you know what? I was dog shit, but I at least got to okay. I at least got to okay. So, thank you very much for everyone who tuned in. this lovely evening, or morning, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Do continue to take care of yourselves out there. Life is rough. And with all that various preamble, we've got our beer bottled. I'll say goodbye, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. So, bye-bye.